HOA wanted me to blend in quietly, so I built a full medieval castle gate at my entrance. Have you ever felt the suffocating weight of conformity, the relentless pressure to erase your individuality and blend into a landscape of bland, uniform perfection, all dictated by someone else's narrow vision? I'm Arthur Pendleton, a retired historical architect and passionate medievalist. My home, a sprawling, slightly eccentric stone cottage nestled at the edge of the meticulously manicured community of Willow Creek Estates, was my sanctuary. It wasn't just a house. It was a living tribute to my life's work, filled with ancient tapestries, antique armor, and a sprawling, meticulously designed herb garden inspired by medieval monastic gardens. My property was bordered by a long, winding gravel driveway leading to my home and a discreet, wooden gate that offered a sense of privacy and timelessness. Then, Ms. Genevieve Sterling arrived. Genevieve, the newly elected, self-anointed queen of the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association, saw my unique home and its historical charm not as a cultural asset, but as an unacceptable anomaly. She was all sharp angles and sharper pronouncements, a woman whose perfectly coiffed silver hair and designer activewear screamed unapproachable perfection. Her first official act, it seemed, was to send me a curt, imperious letter demanding the immediate remediation of my driveway entrance. It was, according to her, excessively rustic, a visual blight, and a clear violation of community aesthetic guidelines. Her ultimate, thinly veiled demand was for me to replace my quaint wooden gate with a standard, decorative wrought iron gate, and to pave my gravel driveway, transforming it into a pristine, uniform concrete thoroughfare that would harmonize with Willow Creek's luxury aesthetic. Her tone was dripping with condescension, her words a thinly veiled threat against everything I held dear. She looked at my home, a testament to history and passion, as if it were a festering wound on the pristine landscape she envisioned. I tried to reason with her, calmly explaining that my home's aesthetic was intentional, a reflection of my historical passion, and that the gravel driveway was permeable, crucial for managing rainwater runoff and supporting the unique ecosystem of my herb garden. I even provided documentation from historical societies and architectural preservation groups, highlighting the unique nature of my property and its contribution to local heritage. Genevieve merely waved a dismissive hand, her perfectly manicured nails glinting. "Mr. Pendleton," she purred, her voice a brittle whisper of disdain, "your eccentricities are simply not suited for the elevated standards of Willow Creek. We are building a community of distinction, and frankly, your medieval fantasy detracts from our property values. The bylaws are clear. All outdoor spaces must be uniform and manicured." Her words, delivered with an air of unassailable authority, left no room for debate. She was not interested in history or personal expression. She was interested in control and conformity. The true nightmare began on a sunny Tuesday morning. I stepped out to admire my herb garden, only to find a scene of utter violation. My charming wooden gate lay splintered on the ground, its timbers scattered. A crew of construction workers, directed by a smirking Genevieve, were actively remediating my driveway entrance. They weren't just removing the gate. They were tearing up sections of my gravel driveway, preparing to pour concrete. Crude signs, emblazoned with the Willow Creek HOA logo, were hammered into the ground, declaring the area under HOA beautification non-compliant structure removal. My heart sank, a cold dread seeping into my bones. This wasn't just an annoyance. It was an act of pure, malicious vandalism, a deliberate destruction of my property, and a direct assault on my cherished home. As I stared at the wreckage, a glint of white caught my eye near the newly dug earth. It was a discarded, official-looking county plat map, crumpled but legible. My blood ran cold. I quickly photographed the scene and then, driven by a gnawing suspicion, I retrieved the map. It wasn't just a plat map. It was a detailed survey showing the property lines of Willow Creek Estates and the adjacent public park. The map clearly indicated that the section of my driveway entrance Genevieve had just remediated actually encroached by a few feet onto a designated public easement for a future pedestrian pathway, a pathway that would connect the park directly to a new public transportation hub. Genevieve had not only ignored my warnings about practicality, she had deliberately, unknowingly, built her improved, entrance over public land, creating a dangerous bottleneck for future public access. And then, a chilling detail, tucked beneath a discarded hard hat, I found a crumpled, mud-stained blueprint for a new, exclusive entrance to Willow Creek Estates, directly adjacent to my now-destroyed driveway entrance. The blueprint showed that the new entrance, designed for a future luxury development within Willow Creek, would utilize the space created by my remediated entrance, effectively making my property a de facto part of their new, private access road. The beautification was a pretext. This wasn't just about my entrance. It was a calculated, high-stakes conspiracy, threatening not only my property, but a vital public resource and the community's future access to public transit. Armed with this irrefutable evidence, the photos of the destruction, the county plat map, the discarded blueprint, and my detailed knowledge of the community's common areas, I resolved to confront Genevieve publicly. I learned she had called an emergency HOA meeting, ostensibly to present a new community initiative, the Willow Creek pedestrian pathway and new entrance. I arrived, my evidence ready, just as Genevieve, radiating an almost unbearable smugness, began her presentation, complete with glossy renderings of the new pathway and the grand new entrance. I waited for a lull, then stood up, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Genevieve, I stated, holding up the plat map, I believe this document and your recent actions sheds a rather inconvenient light on your pedestrian pathway initiative. Her eyes, which had been sparkling with self-satisfaction, immediately narrowed. She quickly recovered, her voice sharp. Mr. Pendleton, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a private HOA matter. You are disrupting our proceedings, and your dramatics are quite unnecessary. She attempted to rally the other HOA members, painting me as a disgruntled, eccentric old man, a nuisance to their refined community. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely the kind of element we are trying to remove from our beautiful Willow Creek. But just as she was about to call for me to be removed, a quiet, unassuming man named Dr. Anya Sharma, a renowned urban planner and community advocate who lived in Willow Creek and had been quietly researching the HOA's land dealings, rose from his seat. Actually, Ms. Sterling, Dr. Sharma interjected, his voice calm but authoritative. Mr. Pendleton raises a very serious point. And I also have something to add. He then projected a series of public land records onto the screen. Clear, undeniable images showing the common green space as a designated public easement and a critical historical landmark. This proposed new entrance, Dr. Sharma continued, her voice gaining strength, is a direct violation of county zoning laws and historical preservation acts. It threatens to destroy a vital public space and would illegally privatize public land. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Before Genevieve could even stammer a denial, the doors to the community hall swung open. Two stern-faced police officers, accompanied by a representative from the county planning department and the district attorney's office, walked in. They had been tipped off by Dr. Sharma, who had contacted them after seeing the suspicious activity around my property and confirming my initial suspicions. Genevieve Sterling, the district attorney's representative, announced, his voice devoid of emotion. You are under arrest for criminal trespass, vandalism, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit land appropriation. We have irrefutable video evidence, and a full investigation into Sterling Properties development and your alleged land deals is underway. Genevieve's face, which had been a mask of carefully constructed composure, crumbled into a terrified, pale mess. Her jaw went slack, her eyes darting wildly around the room, searching for an escape that wasn't there. She stammered, then erupted into a desperate, high-pitched shriek, blaming misunderstandings, overzealous contractors, and a misunderstanding of the land deeds. It was the pathetic wail of a tyrant whose kingdom had suddenly collapsed. Then, a surprising voice emerged from the crowd. Mr. Davies, a long-standing, quiet member of the HOA board and a respected local real estate developer, stood up, his face etched with regret. And Ms. Sterling, he said, his voice trembling slightly. Perhaps you'd also like to explain why you pushed so hard for this new entrance project, not for the community's benefit, but because Sterling Properties Development, the company you're so eager to partner with, is secretly owned by your estranged sister. and you intended to use this deal to secure a massive personal commission and a controlling interest in her future projects, all under the guise of community enhancement. The revelation hung in the air, a final, poisoned arrow. Genevieve had been exploiting the HOA not for the community's benefit, but for her own illicit financial gain and to secure her sister's failing business. The fallout was swift and brutal. Genevieve was immediately stripped of her HOA presidency, her reign ending in public humiliation and a perp walk captured by local news. The police, county planning department, and district attorney's office launched a full-scale investigation, leading to severe fines and criminal charges for trespass, vandalism, environmental violations, and attempted land appropriation. Sterling Properties Development, facing legal repercussions and public outrage, immediately lost their lucrative contracts and faced a barrage of investigations, leaving Genevieve utterly isolated and financially ruined. She lost her position, her reputation, her social standing, and faced a future of crushing debt and legal battles. Her karma was a public, humiliating spectacle, a direct consequence of her petty tyranny and audacious fraud. I felt a profound sense of vindication, a quiet triumph that justice, however painfully achieved, had prevailed. My driveway entrance was a mess, but it was my mess, and it would be restored. The community, shaken but united, began the process of rebuilding trust and respecting the delicate balance of property rights and the environment. And as a final act of defiance, when the HOA, now under new, more sensible leadership, offered to rebuild my entrance, I politely declined. Instead, I meticulously designed and oversaw the construction of a truly monumental structure. It wasn't just a gate. It was a magnificent, full-scale medieval castle gate, complete with towering stone pillars, a massive, custom-carved wooden portcullis, and intricate ironwork, all designed to perfectly complement my stone cottage. It was a silent, unyielding monument to defiance, a permanent, undeniable presence that dwarfed every other entrance in the neighborhood. The HOA bylaws, meticulously reviewed by my lawyer, had no provisions against medieval castle gates. The sight of that magnificent structure, a symbol of my unwavering will, towering over the manicured lawns of Willow Creek, was a moment of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. My home remained my sanctuary, a place of peace and historical passion, now even more cherished and undeniably unique. In a world where bureaucratic power can become a weapon and individual ego can lead to audacious exploitation and criminal acts, where do we draw the line between upholding rules and protecting personal property and the environment? When faced with such blatant disregard for rights, safety, and the well-being of others, what would you have done?